At 1:24 a.m. on March 18, 1990, two men walked into one of America's most prestigious museums. 81 minutes later, they walked out as the masterminds behind the greatest art heist in human history. But here's what nobody saw coming. They weren't master thieves at all. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston wasn't just any gallery. This was a fortress of priceless art, home to works by Rembrandt, Vermeer, and Degas. Security was tight, or so they thought. But on this particular Saturday night, something was different. The regular security guards had called in sick. In their place stood two young men, Rick Abath and Randy Heston, who had no idea they were about to become part of the crime of the century. At exactly 1:24 a.m., the doorbell rang. On the security monitor, two figures stood at the entrance. Police uniforms, official badges. They claimed they were responding to a disturbance call. What happened next would expose a security flaw so simple, so obvious, that the FBI would later call it embarrassingly basic. Rick Abath looked at his partner and shrugged. These were cops. You let cops in, right? The moment that door opened, everything changed. But these weren't ordinary thieves, and this wasn't going to be an ordinary robbery. The fake officers immediately asked the guards to step away from the security desk. For your own safety, they said. Rick Abath, following protocol, moved away from the panic button that could have ended this story in seconds. Within minutes, both guards were handcuffed and marched to the basement. Duct tape covered their eyes and mouths. The thieves had 81 minutes before the morning shift arrived. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. The thieves moved through the museum like ghosts. Motion detectors tracked their every step, but there was no one left to respond to the alarms. They had 81 minutes of complete freedom in a treasure trove worth billions. First stop, the Dutch Room. They sliced Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee right out of its frame. Then came the crown jewel, Vermeer's The Concert, one of only 34 paintings by the Dutch master known to exist. But they weren't done. The thieves methodically worked through 3 separate rooms. 5 drawings by Degas, a Manet, even a bronze eagle from Napoleon's flagstaff. Remember that embarrassingly basic security flaw? Here it is. The museum's policy required guards to step away from the panic button when police arrived. The very rule designed to protect the guards had just handed over a $500 million collection to 2 fake cops. As the clock ticked past 2:30 a.m., the thieves made their final preparations. They had to make 2 trips to their car. 13 stolen masterpieces were a lot to carry. At exactly 2:45 a.m., they walked out the front door and vanished into Boston's night. When police arrived at 8:15 a.m., they found the security guards still bound in the basement. The museum had been picked clean of its most valuable treasures. The FBI immediately launched one of the longest-running investigations in American history. Over 35 years, they've chased thousands of leads across 4 continents. Want to know something incredible? The museum still hangs empty frames where those paintings once lived. 13 empty frames, a $500 million reminder of the night security failed spectacularly. The reward has grown to $10 million. The FBI believes they know who did it, but they've never found the art. And there's one detail about this case that'll make your blood run cold. Remember Rick Abath, the security guard who let them in? For years, investigators suspected he was an inside man. The timing was too perfect, the execution too smooth. But after decades of investigation, polygraph tests, and scrutiny, the FBI concluded something far more unsettling. Rick Abath was completely innocent, which means 2 random criminals walked up to one of America's most secure art museums, rang the doorbell, and relied on pure luck that the guards would let them in. Here's that chilling detail. This heist succeeded because it was so simple, so brazen, that nobody saw it coming. No elaborate planning, no inside knowledge, just 2 guys with fake police uniforms and incredible audacity. The scariest part could happen again tomorrow. Today, 35 years later, the stolen masterpieces remain lost. The thieves? Never identified. The art vanished without a trace. The FBI's investigation continues. Somewhere in the world, $500 million worth of humanity's greatest art sits hidden, waiting to be discovered. 13 empty frames remind us that sometimes the most devastating crimes aren't committed by criminal masterminds with elaborate plans. Sometimes they're pulled off by 2 guys who simply had the nerve to ring a doorbell and pretend to be cops. The question isn't whether these masterpieces will ever be found. The question is, are we ready for the next time someone rings the doorbell?